Hello, today we're going to make a pumpkin here with using oil pastels and a white piece of paper. Okay, to get started we need our oil pastels and we need a pencil and our white piece of paper that we're going to use. So to do the pumpkin we need to find our placements of everything. So we want to think that the stem's going to be here. So we want a pumpkin about this size. And I'm just going to start lightly sketching in an oval shape. So this will be the front of it, and then we want to do down a little bit lower than where our starting points were before. C shapes that will be the start of the sides of the pumpkin, and they don't have to be quite symmetrical. Then from the middle parts, let's say, of the two that we just did, we're going to go towards the center and then decide which way you want your stem to go. And I always like doing a little part so it looks like it's been picked. So right now this looks like a very small one, but we want to give it dimension even more by giving it more sides. So I'm going to start back here on the stem and make two lines, and then up a little bit further I'm going to do the C shapes again, but not even as wide this time. We want to get smaller and smaller as we go backwards. And you could do this another set time if you want, but the one thing that we want to remember is put these little lines right here. So this is showing the two pieces that would be on the back of your pumpkin. So now let's get started with our oil pastels that we have. So we're going to use warm colors for the whole pumpkin because that's what it is. But we don't want to just do orange. We're wanting to do a yellow with it. If you have like a yellow orange, a red orange, and a little bit of red. And then later we'll use some browns in it, a touch of black, some white if you have that, and then we'll use our greens for our stem also. And if you have this golden color that's a little bit more brown, you can use that for your stem to look like it's been setting out longer if you wanted to. So to get started, grab your warm colors that you have here. So I'm just going to have all of these right here. And I'm going to start with my orange. And I'm just going to go over those pencil lines that I had done. And with oil pastels, you can't do it very light. You're going to have to want to layer your colors on top of each other. And as you're using them, you'll want to peel the papers away also. So now that I have my oranges in, I'm going to use some of the other colors. So for a start base, I'm going to use my yellow here, which it broke off earlier because I've been using them. I'm just going to use the side of this, but you could use the edge of it if that's what you have. I like using them without the papers because it's like I have more control of where they're going to go. And if you get like one that gets dirty, just have a tissue. This way you can clean it off. So when you put it away, you have new colors again. And they're not all muddy and gross looking. So we could go in and add some of that warm orange or yellow orange, depending on what the color is called by each brand. And I'm following the contour of the pumpkin, just going back and forth with the curves of it. And it's all about building up layers. And if you have paper that is thicker, like this isn't in between heavyweight paper and poster board, but if you have regular sketchbook paper, that's fine too. If you have a textured heavy paper, that will work. You'll just notice that the oil pastels go on a little bit different. If you have it on charcoal paper, it's going to go on a lot different because charcoal paper has a texture to it. So I'm going to go in with my red orange towards the bottom. And if I get out of the lines, that's okay because I will be putting something there later so that we need to put shadows in our stuff. So I'm doing more of this heavier orange colors at the bottom, the lighter orange colors at the top. Now I'm going to do in where I still can see my pencil lead a little bit. So not on the main front one. I'm gonna go right on the outside edge and put some red and do that on the same here. And then not on this shape, but right behind it on the next one. And I'm just gonna follow that curve. So this is starting to give the body of the curve of the pumpkin. So not on this one, right behind it. And do some more at the bottom. This helps give it the body and dimension that we'll want to make it look realistic. And some people like leaving the marks of the oil pastels. Do a little bit of the red back there. And that's fine if that's up to you. Some people like blending it with their finger. A tissue, I just find the tissue takes too much of it away and then it gets gummier that way. And if you're finding like right here, I don't have that much to smooth, I'm gonna go back and grab my orange and put some more. So you have to make sure you have some on your paper so it will be blending nicer. That nice smooth blend. Here, it's not wanting as much, so I could put some more orange. Let's do a little bit more orange on the top too. Just keep smoothing it, and as you work, you'll be like, okay, I think I need more here. This is looking too much of this one color. Let's add more of a different color to it. I'm going to go back and put some more orange in this. It's looking a little bit too much red. But we are going to add some other colors to this also to give it more of the shadow part. So we got the lighter parts, which is highlights, and we can go back and then put a few more right at the end. So a little bit more yellow if you want it, a little bit lighter. What I'm going to do now is set those aside, and I'm going to pull out my brown colors that I have, and you could even get a little bit of the black right now. So what I'm going to do is add more shadow to the bottom of it and right to the edges of where we were putting the red. So I'm going to do with this one very lightly because we already have some on top and it is a dark color, so it's going to go on really heavy. So I'm just going to follow that where I was putting the red, very light touch. And if you're thinking you need more, go ahead and put more. Do it on the other side. Just slightly touching it upwards. And then follow the curve on the bottom. Because you have to think about when you're doing this, how does that pumpkin form? It's curving under each time, so that's where light will not be shown. Then I'm going to smooth those out. See if I feel I need more added to it. And if you had crayons or chalk, you could even do this. You could do this with colored pencils. And I'll have videos that you can watch of those also. I'm just going to keep going back and put more colors. And I did have this reddish brown color, so I could add that in there. Some boxes don't have all the color options. Just move it around a little bit back there. And I'm going to add some of the brown into the stem now, just to help give it that body. Because we don't want a flat looking just a green stem if we have all the dimensions of the pumpkin showing. So we want some other colors added into it also. And you could smooth it out now if you wanted, or wait till you layer the green on top. So now I'm going to go right underneath and follow the curves of this pumpkin here. And fill that in. And I'm just going to have the line go back behind it some. It's because you have to think, the pumpkin's going to be filling all this area up, not just right here. You have to think of the back side of it. So where would this horizon line be? So this could be sky that you could fill in if you wanted to. You could give it different colors for where it's setting. I'm just going to fill it in brown, so it looks like it's on dirt. put a little bit more of this lighter brown in there to help give that the body. And I'm not going all the way out to the edge of the paper, I'm just fading it. And then we can smooth that out. And very lightly, I'm going to put some black around here. And I want to make sure I smooth that because you don't want just harsh black right up against the edge of it. Before I go too much with adding shadows in, let's grab our greens. And I have 3 greens, but if you just have just the regular green, you could always add a touch of yellow to it. So I'm going to put the green back in, tops of this part. Move it around, do a little bit of the lighter green on top. See how this is aging the stem now? Not just going to look super flat if it was just solid green. You could blend some with your finger if just layering it on top is not what you like to see. Maybe find the darker green if you have one, add some lines that way. Get it to go out just a little bit on that other edges so you can tell where it's growing up and outwards when it was growing. Go back and put some green on top if you wanted. You want to add a little touch of brown to it again. Then once you're like thinking you're done, step back a little bit. Be like, does the area need to be lighter? Maybe lighter up here. Does it need to be a little bit more shadow in this area? So what I'm going to do is I want just a slight touch here of that black, just so it has a little bit darker area. And oil pastels are a little bit different to work with if you haven't ever worked with them, so it takes a little bit of time getting used to the blending of them. So if the first one doesn't turn out that well, just continue to make a few others. And if you've worked in something dark and then you're going to a lighter area, you may want to wipe your fingers off because it will be getting muddy looking if you accidentally touch them. So I'm just going to go in with my yellow again and add a little bit of that highlight on top. And earlier I went outside the edge just a little bit, so I'm going to touch that up, go back in with my orange. And it's just about layering, so you want to just keep looking back at it, going, okay, what needs this now? Some more orange, maybe a little bit more red, a little bit more green, touch this up in the back. And then what you could do if you have a cream color, or you could even use white, you could just put a few lines, and I'm just doing the curve at the top of the pumpkin here. And this one gets dirty really easy, so I'm just going to wipe it off some more. And that's just adding those little highlights to it. And if you didn't have cream, I can show here, just use a little bit of the white. See how that's really bright white, so I would blend it in some, just so that's not the first thing you notice. And if you're like, that's way too much, then what you can do is maybe grab your orange again and layer it on top. You think it's a little bit too dark down here, you can always add some more. You could even go in there with the white just a little bit if you wanted to. And it's doing that push and pull with the highlights and shadows that will help give it the dimension of 3D. And because we did that, we want a little bit of a highlight on our stem here. We could even do a follow where it had that part. And then you'll want to sign it down here. And the year. Thank you for watching.